Hello everyone, welcome back to Clusterbmilkshake. I am your host, along with support puppet Mr. Chicken. Yes! Today we are going to talk about a documentary that I watched called How to Spot a Psychopath on HBO Max. And me being diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder and NPD. What the hell, dude? I wanted to critique how they spotted during interrogations of people who unalived others and see how they were, they had the specialist and the psychoanalyst or psychotherapist or whoever the hell talking about what they saw during these interrogations. And, I wanted to be like, or that's dumb. Okay. So first, I'm going to go over all the different unalivers and what they said about how they felt, with what they did, right? First of all, they all have a mask of sanity. They do look normal when they're going in to be interrogated. I did nothing. Now, there are some that were trying to get out of it, and there were some where they did the interview after they were caught anyway. Okay? So, first, we have a dude who was like 18 years old or a little bit older, and he said that he was so bored with life that he wanted to unalive himself. He wasn't talking about some low-level depression. He was talking about the void within. And so he decided, instead of unaliving himself, and he said to cause his mother and sister emotional pain, which is sadistic, that he was going to unalive his mother. And when they asked about the mother, this is somebody who would be factor 1 psychopathy, because he did not say that he had any childhood trauma. The coffee is done. He said that she was a good mother. So he unalived the mother, and then he wrote a note to the sister telling the sister, if you hurry, you may help mom get to the hospital and save her life, which was baloney because he already unalived her. So he just wanted to cause sadistic emotional distress in the sister. Number 2. This dude unalived his pregnant wife and daughter and father-in-law. Just like Chris Watts, he was having an affair with somebody else. All the text showed how when the woman found out that he was married, she was like, I am not no homewrecker. I am nothing. So she didn't want anything to do with it. They were only in a relationship for 6 months. Now, as you know, when you get into a relationship with somebody like us, it's fast and furious. In the honeymoon stage or the love bomb stage, we are enmeshed with you and we think that, the whole fantasy of being with you forever. It's a good time, but that's not reality. And so he wanted to set fire after unaliving the bodies and then set fire to the house to think that he was going to get away with it. Dude, DNA, bro. DNA, and, fire marshals are not stupid. They saw that the fire was set in different places, and then they're going to see if there's cracks in these people's skull after the flesh is melted off. What the hell? Oh, okay. Then we got number 3. It was a guy who was paying a cam girl. So he was in a fantasy. This was a young man. He was in the fantasy of having the cam girl as his actual reality girlfriend. And he ended up siphoning money from his parents that he was living with to give to this girl. And I mean, it was like $250,000 over time. And he was so upset that the parents wrote out a list of controlling things. You cannot talk to her. You cannot spend money. You have to get a job. You have to this, that, and the other thing, that he unalived the parents. And I think one of his brothers who were in the house. And then he was acting like, he was deny. He was, I don't know what happened. And then one of his brothers came in and was like, will you just tell the truth? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So even though all the facts are there, somebody with psychopathy is going to deny. They believe their lie so hard. And I'm not saying like psychosis or anything like, or schizophrenia crap, but they're just like, no, if I say it enough, it's going to be true. No, this didn't happen. No. Okay. Number 4, premeditation of unaliving family friends. Now, this was of no reason whatsoever. He's like, oh, I don't know why I did it. He was going to unalive the adult male. There was a friend there that he's never seen before, and then there was the child of the male. Now, he unalived the child and the guy he's never seen before, so he wouldn't get in trouble for unaliving the dude. My spidey senses are telling me that he wanted to unalive that guy because I think some whatever fileness was going down, okay? Because he's a bad man, and he wanted to get revenge on him. He was acting like everything was cool in the interrogation room. He was drinking a soda, or I can't remember. They're all like drinking a soda, coffee, or smoking a cigarette, right? To make him feel comfortable and stuff. And this dude kept changing his story over and over again. So this is why I say, watch people that you are talking to, because they're going to F up their stories. They're going to forget details that they said before in the past, and then make up something new. So, next, number 5. This dude took sexy time against women's will and ate women. In his youth, he said that he had fantasies of kidnapping them and them falling in love with him. So also think about, who is it? Jeffrey Dahmer. He wanted to keep these men in his life forever, turn them into zombies or eat them so he could become part of them. Then this is a guy with abandonment issues. But he later, he didn't even do, the full-on kidnapping and try to fall in love with me. He just started going out Ted Bundy style and picking up these chicks and everything and doing the deed and then the deed, okay? Now, one thing that I noticed in some of these things was, and I've read in true crime, people will tell you, give you a false sense of safety and say, I'm not going to hurt you if you do what I say. When I'm done with all this and tying you up and, all this stuff, everything's going to be fine. And it's not. So just accept that you're going to be harmed and claw motherfuckers' eyes out. Okay, do whatever you can. Now, with this guy with the 8 women, he said one woman wouldn't fight back and that ruined his fantasy. He still hoo-hee-hooed her. It didn't matter, but, he was like, she didn't even fight back. It sucked, because he wanted to control her, right? So it's like, I'm going to die anyways, so I'm just not going to fight back and be whatever, I hate life or whatever. And then you're going to, mess up his fantasy, but you're going to die anyways? Or are you going to try to fight back and at least you have a tiny bit of hope of getting away? Scratch that motherfucker so you can have his DNA under your nails. Something, okay? All right. Number 6, now this was a woman, and she was cold, and she was a call girl who got married to somebody who was in prison for fraud. So he's probably a cluster B himself, but they were only married for less than a year, and she was trying to contract unalive him. And unfortunately for her, it was with a undercover cop. Now, when they arrested her, the husband survived. When they arrested her, she started crying to the husband that she was wanted dead. No, and everything, and damsel in distress, I fucking, and all this other bullshit. And he's like, hell to the no. I am sure that he was in a lot of emotional distress. This woman who was supposed to love me, my wife of less than a year, wants me dead for not even like $500,000. That's all his life was worth. And she was, for some goddamn reason, he put the house in her name, okay? Their house in her name only. And then she's like, he said, sign off the house in my name and I will help you get a good lawyer. And she went from damsel in distress to hell the fuck no. The house is mine. I'm giving you nothing. Okay. Selfish, y'all. Number 7. Now this guy was very cold. This guy and a girlfriend, he talked the girlfriend had lots of borderline flavor to her. He talked the girlfriend into the fantasy of them abducting a little girl and unaliving the little girl, trash bags, and burying her. It did come out that he assaulted in that don't touch her way. And when he was in the interrogation room, he would not look at the cops. He would look down and he would just deny, I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And he just kept it up. The girlfriend already confessed to everything. And then they brought the girlfriend in and they told him, tell the girl that she's lying. And he would not look at her and said, she's lying. And then the girl left. And then there was this Stockholm syndrome thing going on. She got life in prison, and then she confessed that she did everything and he did nothing. I was like, because he would not even acknowledge her that, so it's like, if you betray me, I'm going to take away my love from you. So she was like, I did everything, he did nothing. They didn't fall for it and he got in trouble anyways, but that was some creepy Johnny Depp shit. I'm never looking at Amber Heard again. Yeah. All right. Then we have, let me see, 8, 9. Okay. Number 9. A breakup he broke up with his girlfriend, and the behaviors were very narcissistic, the typical dating stuff. She didn't feel loved anymore, after the honeymoon stage. She wasn't getting attention from him, and, silent treatments and all this other bullshit. And then she broke up with him. And then he started doing the hoovering. I hate you, don't leave me, borderline-y stuff too. But he was very much possessive over her, depressed. He's the victim, She started dating his friend. Now that's a no-no. Where the fuck's bro code, dude? But started dating his friend in secret, and the ex-boyfriend got new boyfriend to go with him for a drive, and unalived him. And this was premeditated in his journals and his art and everything. So that's really cool to see too, because they journal and they draw pictures and they have everything, going down in Chinatown, what they're going to do step by step, to get this done. Premeditation, bro, you are in trouble. And obviously he was like, no, we were friends. I took him, for a ride. We got into a fight and I told him to get out. And he thought that was his revenge, being so far away from town that he had to walk home. Then he changed his story. Okay, we got into a fight and then I kicked him out of the car and made him walk home. And then the story changed again. We got into a fist fight. Yeah, you got into an unaliving fight. And then you threw him in, the pond or whatever. I think he might have even dismembered him too. I can't remember, but that's some like serious hate going on, She's lucky she didn't get hurt. Don't be dating no. You break up with all the mutuals. I do not care how fine they are. I do not care. Otherwise, you better, go off into a different state. That's no. Okay. It's high school shit. All right. Number 11. Did I do 10? I did not. Okay. Now, this was a teenager with a Halo addiction, the video game. So back in the day when you, at midnight, and you would go and stand in line and everything to get the new video game coming out at midnight, and everything like that. He had to sneak out of the house because his parents weren't going to let him. And then he came home and he's playing the game. He got caught. And the parents took away his console and everything like that. He was so tired of them controlling him. And he was addicted, playing 18 hours a day. I admit I let my son go to the thing, like he was 14 or whatever, and do the midnight thing, because he was all excited. And I'm like, of course, golden child, of course. And he would play, all day after school and stuff like that. He was an A student. I didn't give a shit. All right. Anyway, so I understand the Halo addiction back in the day and playing with others and everything, the storyline. I know all that shit. But he unalived his mother and father. And when he did unalive his mother and father, he told them, close your eyes, I have a surprise for you. But bam, okay? Then he said, when he went and was interrogated, he told the cops that his parents were fighting, that they were going to get a divorce, and that dad shot mom and then unalived himself. And he's the one that saw it. And then he went, and the sister came over. She's freaking out. She's calling the cops. The kid who did it jumps in the van and starts to drive to his friend's house. The cops stop him, and he was like acting like he was under emotional distress. He's crying in the interrogation room, and then after he's done playing up the cry crap, he's asking the cop questions. Oh, what's your shift? And, some baseball bullshit, and just asking he don't give a shit. He don't give a shit about this cop. He doesn't care about nothing. His emotional distress is over. And now he's just like very calm. Later on, he was like, from him changing his stories over and over again, they were like, he's like, am I going to be tried as an adult? And all this other stuff. Because the dad survived. And the dad's like, he shot me. So, sorry, bro. All right. Do I have any more? Yes. Number 11. This guy was already in jail. He unalived several women, and he was already in prison on death row. And he started to tell people, he was trying to frustrate the cops, be demanding of his death date, and, saying, give me this, that, and the other thing, and I'll tell you where more victims are. Because, a lot of families are not going to be able to rest Their child or adult child is missing, and this guy can bring closure. And you know how we don't like to bring closure. So he's just like, do these things and, I will tell you where the other bodies are. And I guess the cops were like, no, I'm not going to do that. So he unalived himself and was like, you're never going to know now. That's some hardcore shit, man. Okay. So number 12. Now this one was this was scary. I think I skipped over one. A factor two psychopath. That's the one that has a lot of rage and anger. He was very abusive, and the wife had to get a restraining order against him. And he was so upset. They got a divorce, would not let him see his daughters, and so he was hitting rock bottom. And he was so full of rage, even in the interrogation room, he didn't care. He didn't care. He was like, yeah, I did it. Shoot that bitch, and just freaking took my babies away and all this other stuff. He's the victim, of course, of the wife, and he's not taking any responsibility for his abusive behavior and laying hands on her to where she had to get a restraining order. And then, a divorce, taking half your stuff. He's at a total rock bottom state that he's like, I don't have nothing to lose, man, except for my freedom. So he, in court, he did show a lot of guilt. A lot of guilt and over it, because family members, when they come up and they talk and they're like, I'm gonna miss and all this other stuff. And, he looked like he had real, his body language looked like real sadness, not just sadness for himself. Any of these other mother sucks crying, it was sadness for themselves. They got caught. They are fake crying, not at all crying, or pity cry for themselves. They either denied it or some admitted it and love talking about it in detail, because then they get to relive what they've done. You can even see Ted Bundy doing this when he's cross-examining a cop on the witness stand, and he was almost like sweating, and you can see him moving his hands and everything when the cop is saying all the different details that he saw in the murders. I'm like pointing at the camera, look what he's doing. He's reliving it. A lot of them said that they do not know why they did it. I believe it made them feel powerful, God-like. I believe that there's an overwhelming darkness and they wanted to feel something doing these things. You are just an object. They have shallow affect. So when the crying is done, they're just, their moods change like a light switch. They don't care, and they don't have remorse, except for the dude that was, on trial, or not on trial. He was getting sentenced, That was the only one I saw. Now we're going to go into the scariest one, and this is the self-loather that hates himself and envies the love lives of others. Now, I've talked about envy before. I've talked about how, narcissistic people will envy the wealth, power, beauty, perfect love that other people will have. They want to have that for themselves, but they will envy others for having it. So this guy, he was a young man, and he was also paranoid, very paranoid. He felt rejection from a girl. He was frequenting a gym, and she was a worker at the gym. And he had this fantasy of them being together, but she had a boyfriend. And he felt rejected, but he has been rejected his whole life. He talked about being bullied. He talked about conduct disorder when he was younger, and his older brother thought that he would turn out to be a criminal. He blamed his mother for being this way, being born this way. And she was very, stoic, no fucks, dude, for her own kid. I've noticed too, a lot of mothers are not going to take any responsibility for childhood trauma. I have seen this. I have seen mothers being interviewed. Their child is a psychopath. The mother is being interviewed and they're in victim mode at first. Like, I don't know why I didn't do anything wrong. And as the fucking interview is going, that mask slips, bro. And they start throwing the kid under the bus, talking shit, laughing. There is no empathy there at all for their kid. Nothing. And I'm just like, ew. And the interviewers, they don't see shit, man. And if they do, they don't say nothing. They're like, oh, poor mom, stop. Ugh. Anyway, so this dude, he tries to unalive the boyfriend and the girl. He was pissed. So he wasn't just going to unalive the boyfriend and be like, oh, I'm going to try. He's like, no, I hate that you are in love. So they were leaving, the place, and he unalived the boyfriend and shot the girl, and the girl ended up in a wheelchair. So it's noticing signs of people that you're hanging. I think that it's almost impossible to tell with a factor 1 psychopath. I think it's very difficult. They will tell secrets to their closest person. So if it's a boyfriend or girlfriend, something that, because they have said, laughed about it on the phone or through text or something. And, oh, I better fake cry and, so I can get on parole and stuff like that, But otherwise, they're just like, I didn't do nothing, or it was the crime of passion, and and they got books on how to kill it. All right. So this is very hard. Do not watch this if you're going to become paranoid with the outside world. Don't forget the energy that you put out. So if you're going to put out fear, you're going to get fear in return. So because I just don't give a shit, I'm just like, oh, well, maybe my people better not watch this. But if you go into their childhood trauma and they are a victim, anyone who is a victim of life, society, their shit, and they're not trying to work on it, those are the motherfuckers that you really need to get away from, okay? All right, I hope that was helpful. Have a great day. Namaste.